I am Chicano, Chicanx. I think that's more of a recent identity for me, really.
It's like looking at that reflection and thinking about how much easier it'd be to be the one on the other side of that divide. But when you reach out and touch it, you realize that the plane is just solid and that all you've done is dirtied your side of the glass. But imagine that, being an alien in a land you were born knowing you would die in.
Nearing the end of high school, I started to sort of embrace my Mexican-American identity, and it's still something I'm trying to figure out. I'm discovering my identity and my culture as I go along. I went to Mexico last winter for the first time in a while, and it was really, really cool and really fun.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever feel, what's that word, like that pocho vibe when you visited?
What do you mean?
So, pocho or like pocha is like, ni soy de allí ni de aquí. So it's
okay.
like, I'm not from here, from there.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Did you, yeah?
Yeah. They, every time I go, they're like, why can't you speak Spanish? You gotta speak Spanish. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. I should have learned Spanish. Because I grew up speaking Spanish when I was younger, but then I got integrated into the public school system. Mm-hmm. And they don't try and teach you it there. Mm-hmm. They do now. They passed a law, but they do teach it now. There's retention programs. But when I was like growing up and when my like parents were growing up, it wasn't there for them. Mm-hmm.
¿Por qué te dices así? Well, why not? I'm comfortable. I feel good. Pero es que te pueden ver toda la figura. Well, they can look away. Sí, pero es que tú eres única. No tienes el cuerpo como las otras mujeres. Yeah, but what's wrong with my shape? I'm curvy. And for me, growing up, because of this like dichotomy of my parents and all that, growing up, Mexican meant like, or Mexican American meant being really poor, and meant like not getting to school on time, and meant like eating rice and beans every day, or like just like living with your grandparents. It meant like all these things that I considered to be negative at the time, mm-hmm. because of, I mean, seeing my situation and seeing my dad living in Santa Ana and my mom living up in the hill in a condo. I'm not saying we had it all, but I'm saying like she was doing her best as a single mother. It was a very odd dynamic for me to understand what being Chicana meant, because I am a whitewashed human being. I mean, I am super white passing, so I got along with some kids, but there was still a divide. There was still like, I knew I was different. I knew something about me just internally, or like even sometimes externally, just something was not off, but absolutely not the same.
This is my skirt, and this is what I used to practice. I definitely consider myself Mexican American. I am an immigrant, and I remember that when I first got here to the US, I would always say I'm Mexican, because that's how I felt, that's how I identified myself. Right now, it's been 9 years since I left Mexico, so I definitely consider myself Mexican American. because, I'm here and, in an American country, and I don't see myself as American fully. I definitely see myself as Mexican for, all the reasons, for culture, for beliefs, for the language, religion. And when I go back to Mexico, I don't see myself as Mexican anymore, fully Mexican. I have changed my views in life, in everyday aspects. The way I speak is different as full Mexicans, I would say. Everything has changed, so I definitely see myself as Mexican American. And through Folklorico, I get to stay connected to the person I used to be in Mexico and to the person I am today here in this country. And I am proud of that. I am proud to say I'm Mexican American.
Una mujer mexicana, una fuerza poderosa, trabaja con habilidad, vivacidad, a la vez debe ser cariñosa, amante, compasión. No deja que le atropellen con sus miradas. Pero mi fenotipo, rostro y cuerpo blanco, que la gente piensa que puede escribir sus juzgamientos y prejuicios en. They strip me of my culture, my home. In their eyes, my family must be strangers. So I think I wanted to go with like fluid motion because that's kind of how I felt personally, like the way the poem flowed for me. There's the first part is kind of about nature and it's something that I really connect with. So I think that like gave me some sort of like inner peace. There was a lot of like going back and forth because I talk about being pulled back and forth because of my identity. And there was a lot of like just like focused on different body parts and like tensing and relaxing because that's kind of like the journey I go through with this poem and in like real life with like just being a woman, being a Chicana, and trying to, live my life under like this like circumstances of like, like this patriarchal world that we live in. And yeah, if that makes sense. I think like just because I have a hard time like looking myself in the mirror in general, just because of like that insecurity about my identity and other aspects of the way I look, I think it was beneficial for me to see myself in this way, and especially kind of talking to myself, like reciting this poem to myself and like helping myself, I guess, believe it more, because I'm not used to, I guess, giving myself like self-worth in that sense. And I hear it's like a physical, like I have to be out here and actually face myself and face that crisis with my identity. Yeah.
Oh my God. Said I put too much water in the tortillas and I made a drink instead of an actual tortilla. So this is when I went to Mexico. I think this might have been my second time. And they were teaching me how to make tortillas from scratch. I apparently put too much water in the first batch, so we had to remake it. But I was pretty proud that I made a little ball. This side of my family shows like the origin of where it all began. Like, who am I? Like how I grew up to be who I am now. Looking through these photos and thinking about myself as a Mexican American makes me compare and contrast both, but I find a similarity in the center. Even though we don't really follow that many Mexican traditions, we have our own family traditions. And that's what makes my identity, is our own family traditions. What we like started. So when I say it reminds me back of the origins, this is where it started. They started this, and now I hope to continue it.
by definition, I would be Chicano, Chicanx. I'm interested in shedding this right here on my face. There's a line in that reading that talks about the Guatolico state. It said something about like shedding and kind of like the process of transformation. I thought it would be interesting to come full circle. It's been a couple years since I haven't seen my face clean shaven. I decided to use this blade right here, just because I thought it'd be interesting to try using a tool that my ancestors used for a lot of different things. I doubt they used it for shaving. Maybe they did. I don't think they had that necessity, because all this shit is from my European ancestors. Oh my goodness. I definitely don't look like Jesus anymore. Who is that? Oh my God.